Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm with NatureMade. Joining me for the next part of our sleep conversation is Dr. Susan Mitmesser, who heads up scientific research at NatureMade and also Nourish, which is our new personalized vitamin and supplement subscription service. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Daniel. It's nice to see
How are
you.
you? Nice to see you too. So last week, we really kind of laid sort of a foundation of like what sleep is and how it works and what's happening in the body. So to kind of start this part of the conversation, which is really around not getting enough sleep, can you define for the audience what is good sleep as best you
Well,
can?
yeah, sleep is best defined as quality and quantity. So it's not just am I sleeping enough hours. Last time we talked about as an adult getting 7 to 9, that kind of sweet spot, 7 to 9 hours per night. So that's part of it. But then the
Right.
other piece is quality of sleep. So understanding the number of times you wake up in a night. And if you do wake, are you able to get back to sleep? So it's about restful sleep and good quality sleep. So those are two parameters that go hand in hand and help determine good sleep hygiene.
Because if sleep is about restoration and if you're waking up every 2 hours, it's almost like that cycle is getting disrupted, right? So you're not really getting that restorative aspect to sleep.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're woken up and you may not have the ability to fall back asleep, perhaps because your mind's racing or for whatever reason, and therefore your body's not able to get the restorative aspects.
Okay. So kind of talking about what poor sleep is, how do I know if I'm not getting enough sleep?
There are tangible ways that you may feel that. I think first, one of the most surprising statistics I'd like to share is that in the United States, 70% of adults claim that they have some type of sleep trouble. And the sleep trouble isn't always something that is diagnosed as insomnia. Sometimes it's just inability to fall asleep quickly. That's called sleep latency. So how long does it take me to fall asleep? How long do I lay in the bed before I actually fall asleep? Yeah. Sometimes it's the wakefulness, as I said, throughout the night. And sometimes it's just not getting enough sleep. So 70% of US adults, that's to me substantial.
Yeah.
And remember from last time we talked about what sleep affects and all the processes and that nice dance between cortisol and melatonin. And, it affects your reaction time. It affects your learning abilities, alertness, your mood, accuracy of short-term memory even. So some of the tangible things you may recognize if you're not getting enough sleep are functioning at work. Are you dozing off in meetings? Are you not as attentive as you could be? Managing your family. Are you patient or not? Are you less tolerant of others? And also remember, we talked last time about the 3 pillars of health: sleep, nutrition, and physical exercise. And remember, they're all intertwined. You can't have one without the other, or you can't impact one without it impacting the others. And so take that reflection and figure out, have my eating habits changed? Am I eating things just for a quick, because I'm too tired to actually prepare a meal, and so I'm looking for a quick solution? Am I not able to exercise because I'm too fatigued by end of day, and that could be attributed to a lack of good sleep the night before?
Right. And it's amazing. The more I think about it, the more we talk in different areas of health, how important it is that all those things are dovetailing, right? So they're all connected. If one is not doing well, then probably the other 2 areas also probably need improvement as well.
Yeah, and it's back to that chicken and egg, they all are interconnected, so you don't know which is causing the other. But first step, identify, where you're seeing an insufficiency in one of those 3 pillars and start to modify.
Okay, great. So is there you talked about it, you talked about adults, but kind of when we break that down a little bit further, is there a particular segment of the population that is more vulnerable to the impact of poor sleep?
All humans are impacted by sleep, poor sleep.
I kind of knew that was the answer, but.
But I think there are some opportunities. I'd like to highlight, for the purposes of today's talk,
Yeah.
children. And
Okay.
let's reserve talking about the impact of adults for a later conversation, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
But when you think about children, there is the American Academy of Pediatrics has linked poor sleep quality and quantity to children being more likely to be obese, having behavioral dysfunctions, suffering from injury more. So, you're out on the playground. If they have poor sleep, they are more prone to injury, catching a cold more frequently. And also, they've gotten down to the granularity of indicating that you are more likely to be failing math in children, school-age children. And what all that boils down to really is overall poor school performance, behavioral problems. And even when you get to high school and college age, lower GPAs are associated with poor sleep quality and quantity.
Wow. So, I mean, that's interesting, because I feel like it's such a good demonstration of how it can impact you in tangible ways. Obviously, that's very specific to children, but I think it could probably apply to all of us, right?
I think one of the, a lot of the statistics I bring up in these sessions are sometimes not very popular or not uplifting, but I think with information and data comes knowledge. And so I think it's knowing those statistics about children is great knowledge, and it's evidence that what occurs in children really impacts the long-term performance of those children into adulthood. And so, we should, as adults that influence children, parents, teachers, encourage and be very deliberate about promoting good sleep habits early on in children's lives.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it's really important. It's also something you can, you can fix it, right? It's not set in stone. And that's the great thing about identifying problems with kids, is because if it's early on enough, you can actually help kind of, change that into more of a positive. So take those statistics, which I guess you could say are more negative, but to your point, they're knowledge, and actually apply them in a meaningful way. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think with children in particular, sleep is one that we do have. It's a little bit more easier to control than some of the other bad habits that children develop.
So shifting gears a little bit, kind of looking at nutrients specifically in sleep. Are there nutrients, micronutrients, that actually contribute to sleep in some way?
This is one of the best parts of my job. Nature Made does a fantastic job of reinvesting in research. And we recently published a study that identified a link to folks that do not get enough sleep to micronutrients, and there's a link there. Not causation, but association, meaning that we are not quite sure does the short sleep, not getting enough sleep, actually cause the micronutrient deficiency or insufficiency, or does the micronutrient cause the short sleep? But it's fantastic foundational information for us to make decisions about where we should be researching in the future. And one of the phenomenal things that came out of that was that we identified for women that have short sleep, and remember, short sleep is less than 7 hours of sleep for an adult. 14 micronutrients were insufficient or deficient in that population. 14. Wow. Yeah, and for males, it was 5. And so that's still pretty significant. Yeah. And when you start to look at that data and understand, so what is some of the commonality associated with some of those micronutrients? The micronutrients that are associated with bone health, calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin K, were all on that list. Wow. And so to me, that begs the question, can inadequate sleep indirectly lead to poor bone health? I don't know the answer, but there is an association there somewhere. And could we be impacting how our bones mineralize and how we restore bones if indeed we're not sleeping well? So I think it's a fantastic way to start further investigation.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really interesting too. It's probably a good place to sort of hit pause and stop for today, just because I think we're going to talk more about the impact of sleep on adults in our next video. But this has all been really interesting, as usual, and very informative. So thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Daniel, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.